Hello. Hello, broken hearts. How are we doing today? Welcome back to the Tolstoy Diaries. This is going to be the last episode, at least, where we're talking about War and Peace. I think the Tolstoy Diaries is clearly something I'm very passionate about and love, so I will definitely make sure to continue with this series along because we're going to be reading Tolstoy for 4 consecutive years with the Dickens versus Tolstoy book club. But today, not today, I'm not going to finish this book today, but this is going to be the last episode where we focus on War and Peace. Today is May 24th, and I am 1,128 pages through. This book goes all the way to 1317, so wow. Okay, there's just going to be so many spoilers because I can't avoid it at this point. I'm almost done this book, and to talk about anything, we're gonna have spoilers. So if you have not read War and Peace, or maybe if you never want to read War and Peace, you can stay, but I just want to let you know, okay? So, cool. Okay, so what has happened? Stuff has happened. Number 1, Prince Andrei Bolkonsky is dead. He's dead. He died. He's dead. I kind of saw it coming, but I didn't know if if Tolstoy was actually going to do that to me because, like, of course, throughout the book, we think he's dead and then he comes back and we think he's dead again, but then he comes back, which is kind of the cycle that Andrei goes through in his own life, but now I'm pretty sure he's 100% dead. Like, they buried him, so I hope he's dead. But, oh God. Honestly, I didn't cry when he died. I thought maybe I would because we all know I've sobbed my heart out multiple times throughout this book, but Tolstoy did Andrei's death scene in such a way that, like, I just felt completely at peace with it. I felt completely okay with it. I felt what Andrei was feeling himself, and he was, like, ready to enter that mystery. He felt completely at ease. And just what Tolstoy was writing about it and the way that he was kind of figuring the scene and what Andrei was thinking was just so beautiful because Andrei's, like, finally going to meet that feeling that encompasses, like, the lofty infinite sky that he's been talking about and that he's been missing and looking for so much in this novel throughout war and through the battles and through the strife in his own life with his family and with his relationships. So it just felt really natural and really good. It felt like he had accomplished what he wanted, honestly. And it does hurt a little bit that, of course, he only realized kind of what he thinks is life's purpose and what we need to do as human beings with love. He only kind of realizes this as he is finally passing away for real. So that was really hard to see. But so, okay, we'll talk about Pierre, I think, and Andrei in conjunction just for a second, because while Andrei is dying and he's been reunited with Natasha, and so Natasha and his sister are now caring for him, but Pierre gets taken prisoner, and so he's having a lot of these same revelations that only fear and suffering and death are bestowing upon him. All I have to say is Pierre better live. Pierre, if you're listening, you better stay alive. Okay, so Pierre says, it was as if the main spring of his life, on which everything depended and which made everything appear alive, had suddenly been wrenched out and everything had collapsed into a heap of meaningless rubbish. Though he did not acknowledge it to himself, his faith in the right ordering of the universe, in humanity, in his own soul, and in God had been destroyed. He felt that the universe had crumbled before his eyes and only meaningless ruins remained, and this not by any fault of his own. He felt that it was not in his power to regain faith in the meaning of life. But he does. It's okay. He does, because he, like, holds, like, the suffering up to his eyes, and he sees through it. Then a few pages later, we see that Andrei is laying, thinking about stuff. Oh my gosh. And just the way that Tolstoy describes him, like, passing out of life and his understanding, kind of going from this gradient where it begins with the understanding of life, him having a very firm foot in all that is alive in the world, in relationships, in the war, and then slowly transitioning as his fever ebbs out the life from him into now an understanding of death. It's just so beautiful because he says, in that calm, almost antagonistic look could be felt an estrangement from everything belonging to this world, terrible in one who is alive. Evidently only with an effort did he understand anything living. But it was obvious that he failed to understand, not because he lacked the power to do so, but because he understood something else, something the living did not and could not understand, and which wholly occupied his mind. Not only did Prince Andrei know he would die, but he felt that he was dying and was already half dead. He was conscious of an aloofness from everything earthly and a strange and joyous lightness of existence. Without haste or agitation, he awaited what was coming, that inexorable, eternal, distant, and unknown. The presence of which he had felt continually all his life was now near to him, and by the strange lightness he experienced, almost comprehensible and palpable. And then he kind of has the revelation of what love is, that love is life, love hinders death, because to love is to be alive, is to engage fully in life, is to have life in your hands and life as a feeling. Everything that I understand only because I love. Everything exists only because I love. Everything is united by it alone. Wow. Okay. So those scenes were just incredible, but honestly, to say something a little bit about this book, I'm getting real sick of reading Kutuzov's name. I'm just getting so sick of reading this Russian general's name. Because we just had so many scenes about the army and about the war, and now Napoleon is retreating from Moscow and the Russians are attacking again, and it's just like honestly so much, especially because Tolstoy intersperses these like really gorgeous scenes of like life outside of war and outside of the battlefield, like with Prince Andrei and Natasha and stuff, and then like he just keeps driving the same point home, and it's a good point and I like that discussion, but like honestly, now that he's had these tangents about like seriously like 12 to 13 times now, it is really tiring, and like I just didn't really expect that level of like kind of needless repetition from someone as great as Tolstoy. And like I think they're beautifully worded, but you don't need to like show off and like word the same great idea differently 12 times. Like it's just really, I think, unnecessary, especially because like I said last time, he's already shown us the play of his idea that everything is kind of predestined. You can't like connect cause to anything because there's never one cause. All causes are connected, and so it's pointless to like say this is why Napoleon did this or this is why Russia did this or anything like that. And like it's really grating on my nerves at this point because like it just keeps going. So anyway, I need to read some more today because like I said, today's the 24th. I'm adoring it so much. I just hope like really soon it switches back to maybe Pierre, because for the last honestly like 100 pages we've just had like Kutuzov and Petya, which I don't really care about them, and I just kind of want to know what happens. Plus we have the epilogue, which I've heard some people either really love or really hate. So anyway, okay, this is gonna be the last week of this series, so I guess let's just dive right into it. What's up? How are you doing? Are we emotionally distressed? I haven't updated you guys in a long time, and I'm sorry, but I've just been so in this and just so involved with it, and just I keep picking it up and like reading more and more. Obviously, today's May 30th. So it's been quite a while since I've updated you. I'm still not done. Don't worry, I'm gonna catch myself finishing this book on camera, because that's gonna be a moment in the history of my life that I'm gonna wanna remember. But like I said, I've just been so in this book that it's been hard to kind of come out of it and speak to you about it. So I'm currently on page 1278. I am in part 2 of the epilogue, actually. So I have less than 50 pages to go. Wow. So last time I updated you, Prince Andrei, he's died for real. He has died. And I said I didn't actually feel too sad about it, just because of the way Tolstoy was wording it. Also, Petya is dead, Natasha's little brother, and the youngest son of the Rostovs, Petya, is dead. Also in combat, which was also very sad. And the Rostov family isn't doing the best. Mostly just the Countess, because now that we're in the epilogue, the Count has also died. And so now we have like our final pairs, and they're settling into life. Of course, Pierre and Natasha are together. They're married. They have children. Nikolai and Maria are together. They're married. They have children. And so it's just kind of following their life now, and the epilogue is a lot of Tolstoy coming back and talking again about the forces that control our lives. So much of this book is a history book. It's also a book about how to be a historian through the eyes of Tolstoy, what constitutes a good history, what constitutes being a good storyteller of history, not defining factors and not defining outcomes based on the genius of one man, but clearly being able to identify, define, and know yourself, that you as a storyteller of history won't ever be able to know every single cause, and thus won't ever be able to know every single outcome of any cause. And that power is not an adequate enough answer to explain why things happen, why wars are waged, why politics acts the way that it does, why the movements of people across the globe scatter and disperse the way that they do, and why humanity does what humanity does. There was one really beautiful quote, and I just think it was just such a brilliant marriage of like the two main things that War and Peace is made up of. I was just so blown away by Tolstoy's ability to kind of glue hand in hand the history side and like his own kind of essay, philosophical history narrative of what he thinks a good history is, and also the history of the Napoleonic Wars, and that whole discussion of cause and effect, and the myriads and myriads of causes that exist in the world for every single event, marrying that with the narrative and with the story of our characters, with Prince Andrei and Natasha and Pierre and Maria and Nikolai and everyone, and just like really highlighting how their lives are so interconnected, which we do see in the story. How connected everyone is, how people's actions, how Prince Andrei's actions maybe take place because of his feelings for Natasha, or Natasha's actions maybe take place because she is forlorn and lost, and now she has feelings for Pierre, and Pierre takes his actions because of a whole host of different things based on his friendship with Andrei, his tenderness for Natasha, his respect for Maria, and just everything. They're so interconnected, you can't ever take one away from the other. You can't take someone whose life has been touched by someone else. You can't separate those two things, because that's always gonna hold true. That's always gonna be something that has happened in the past, and so you won't ever be able to separate what has happened to one person being touched by someone else in the context of like things happening, and that like kind of domino effect after someone has come into your life and influenced you. And so Tolstoy just like shows it so expertly, and the quote that just made it so beautiful was, "Undoubtedly, some connection exists between all who live contemporaneously." That's such a beautiful thought, also a very scary thought, but I just thought it was so perfect. And just like the way that he just like starts to talk in the epilogue, and we see how our characters are now living out their lives. It's also just such a realistic depiction, because Pierre has that huge change of heart and that huge realization that there's no absolute evil, there's no absolute good, there's no absolute suffering, there's no absolute peace. Everything exists in this flux, and he has all these ideas of what he wants, and like that kind of stupendous epiphany type of moment does happen when he's going through all this suffering, and he's being held captive, and then he's released, and then of course years pass. And I think especially maybe in Dickens or something, when something like that would have happened to a character, they would have maintained that mindset. But Tolstoy just really shows how your environment and how time and how humanity's feeble mind and our propensity for forgetfulness is no match for time and whatever environment we are surrounded in. And so Pierre has really settled down from like that really wonderful kind of climax of his character realizing those thoughts all the way back in like book 4, when he says that life is everything, life is God, everything changes and moves, and that movement is God, and while there is life, there is joy and consciousness of the divine. And then he realizes that this globe was alive, a vibrating ball without fixed dimensions. Its whole surface consisted of drops closely pressed together, and all these drops moved and changed places, sometimes several of them merging into one, sometimes one dividing into many. Each drop tried to spread out and occupy as much space as possible, but others, striving to do the same, compressed it, sometimes destroyed it, and sometimes merged with it. That is life. And then just for, I don't know, it's just the same ideas picked back up and tossed around and thrown like a ball and kind of rising and bouncing and ebbing and flowing like waves. And it's just so good. Because Tolstoy says that lots of writers of history don't recognize it being the force which produces events as a power inherent in heroes and rulers, but as the resultant of a multiplicity of variously directed forces. It is in the interaction of many persons connected with the event. The way that War and Peace is, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not a novel, it's not a history, it's not entirely an essay, it's not entirely a work of philosophy, it's all these things. And in being so many different genres and not being clearly defined as well, like that structure and that form and that like being that War and Peace is, this like in between, taking on so many different things, having so many different facets every time you turn it around and look at it and stuff like that. It just shows exactly what Tolstoy is talking about himself, and just the way that he's so gifted. And we always bounce back and forth between, like I said, like finding war and having that tumultuous kind of dead feeling of pain and suffering in day-to-day life. And especially what Pierre experiences, because Pierre doesn't go to war himself until almost the very end. But before that, he was experiencing war and turmoil in his own life. He was fighting himself, and just Tolstoy's realization that everyone is in a battle, regardless if the battlefield is the plains of Borodino or if it is your own soul. And it's just so good, like the way that he like just shows you this. And now he's coming back in the epilogue, which, like, to be fair, it is pretty long and it is a lot, and like I said, we did get quite a repetition of those ideas beforehand, but it's okay. I'm fine with it, like I'm okay with it. And it's just so good the way that he shows those connections, and the way that he establishes like habits of Prince Andrei's or something like that, and shows what he takes to the battlefield and how each second is a choice and a chance. And everywhere there is a force made up of millions of different things, of millions of different people, and their happiness and their peace and their wars. And there's never any one cause for anything. It just makes life this globe, this ocean where we're all drops in it. And then I think just like I've never seen such a natural kind of payoff of a storyline. Like when I was talking about how Tolstoy uses the language of war in like the drawing room and in people dying in society. People are dying everywhere, not just on the battlefield, and how in the battlefield immense peace is achieved, or at least immense realizations of the ability for peace and of humanity's nature to want happiness and life is achieved. Nikolai finds himself extremely happy in the army. There's kind of this monotony that is also very mind-numbingly peaceful. Andrei and his lofty sky is where he has his epiphanies himself of peace, and Pierre, when he's taken hostage finally and taken prisoner, he's the happiest he's ever been. So it's just like really interesting. But Tolstoy finally like spits it out himself instead of leaving it for us to unravel a little bit, and he says that he learned, Pierre learned that suffering and freedom have their limits, and that those limits are very near together, that the person in a bed of roses with one crumpled petal suffered as keenly as he now, sleeping on the bare, damp earth, with one side growing chilled while the other was warming, and that when he had put on tight dancing shoes, he had suffered just as he did now, when he walked with bare feet that were covered in sores, his footgear having long since fallen to pieces. So I think at this point, like, I have so much to say. I'd love to do like a kind of a book review on this. Not really a book review, but just like going over all of these central things, or like kind of just discussing more in depth what I've been talking about in my vlogs, because like there is a universe in War and Peace, and each universe has so much to talk about within it and for itself. So I think I would love to do like a video like that. But yeah, it'd probably take me a little bit to kind of think about everything I wanted to talk about within it, but this book will be finished either tonight or tomorrow, which I'm very nervous about. I honestly can't believe that I've read War and Peace. That was kind of like a life goal of mine, and it feels super surreal to kind of have it done by now. But yeah, it's just been so wonderful as well to see all of you guys reading it and what you think of it, and just like the impact I think it's had on a lot of us at the minute. It's just been really, really good and like mind-blowing. So I don't know how it's gonna end. I imagine it might end with Tolstoy just being Tolstoy with his epilogue, but I guess we shall see probably tonight. So let's finish this. Alright, so it is May 31st, 8-something p.m. and I am going to sit down right now and finish War and Peace. Finish War and Peace. Okay, so I'm on the second epilogue, but it's actually taking me so long to read. I only have 3 pages left, but the epilogue, the last epilogue, is extremely dense. Okay, let's finish this. Let's finish this. Hello, this is from post War and Peace Emma. Today is actually June 5th, so Carolyn and I had our debate today for War and Peace, which wasn't really a debate. I will make sure to link that if you would like to watch, but as you saw, I did finish this. I just didn't want to vlog anything for a few days afterwards because I was just kind of processing and just really thinking about it, and then I took a few days to write out a lot of my notes for the debate, and I did save some stuff during the debate. It was quite a long one, so I think like halfway through, honestly, my brain and my eyes kind of gave out, and thank goodness Carolyn had so much to say because I wasn't feeling the best, so apologies for that. But it's now the evening and I rested a little bit. It's around 8:30, so I wanted to come on and close off this last episode of the Tolstoy Diaries for War and Peace. A few of you guys asked me if this would be the last episode of the Tolstoy Diaries, and it will be, of course, for War and Peace, but do not worry, because of course for the Dickens versus Tolstoy book club we have a lot of Tolstoy works to get through, so I think I'll just continue on the Tolstoy Diaries once we read more, and of course we will have the Tolstoy Diaries through his next work, Anna Karenina, so don't worry. But yeah, this is just a life-changing book. I've been thinking a lot about doing a review about it because I do have a lot of thoughts, although I'm not sure what explicitly I would want to talk about in there, because when I do a review I don't always love just talking about my own feelings for the book, because not that I don't find that interesting, and of course they are my feelings, like I know what they are, but more than that I really want to kind of share with you guys elements that I think are super impressive in here and that maybe deserve some more analysis and depth than that, than just saying, oh, I like love this so much and all of the characters and stuff, although of course that does hold true. I give this 5 stars. The ending, it ended perfectly for me. It was one of those endings, the last 2 epilogues, that I think couldn't have been anything other than what they were, and it just was intensely intense. It was an experience, and one that I'm so glad to have taken with all of you guys. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this 4 part Tolstoy Diary War and Peace special. It's been really special. It's been a really special part of my life for the past 2 months, and I can't believe we've read War and Peace. That is incredible. That's been kind of on my bucket list for life, for literary life, and now it's over. So yeah, I can't believe it. In the end, I would highly recommend. So much more impressed than I thought I would be with all of the themes, the pairings of everything, the characters, the philosophy, just absolutely insanely brilliant. So thank you, Leo Tolstoy, and also Sophia Tolstoy. She needs to be thanked as well. So there it is. I guess I will sign off this last War and Peace update, but thank you so much for coming along with me. It's been beautiful. It's been wonderful. It's been a time, and that's that. It's over. It's done. But yeah, seriously, if you would like to see a review video, and if there's any topics you'd like me to cover, or maybe moments, symbols, themes, any kind of, I don't know, literature aspect, I'm more than happy to. So please leave your suggestions down below and I will see if I can get to them all. So we did it. We did it. Thunk. We did it. Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I guess I will see you guys very soon in my next video. And of course, for the book club, we will be reading Oliver Twist by Dickens in June, just June, and then Anna Karenina will be July and August. So I get to read Anna Karenina in my birthday month of July, which is going to be amazing. So anyway, okay, yeah, that's it. That's all from me. Ciao.